People think radio is a dying art. But late at night, when the world is asleep, strange things slip through the airwaves. And sometimes the voices you hear aren't alive anymore. I used to work the graveyard shift at a small town station. What happened during my last broadcast still keeps me awake at night, because the caller on the other end of the line should never have known my name. I got the job at WXBT, a tiny AM station, when I was 24, midnight to 6 a.m. Most people hated the shift, but I loved it. It was quiet, peaceful, just me, the hum of the transmitter, and a microphone. My show wasn't fancy, just music, weather updates, and the occasional call-in. We rarely got more than a handful of listeners at that hour. Truckers passing through, insomniacs, lonely voices in the dark. The station itself was old, a converted warehouse with cracks in the walls and peeling paint. There was a main studio, a dusty lobby no one used, and a second sound booth, one that hadn't been touched since the late 70s. Management called it the Black Room because of the soundproofing. The door was always locked, but sometimes, when the building was quiet, I swore I heard faint clicking noises coming from inside, like a reel-to-reel machine still running. One night in October, around 2:30 a.m., the phone rang. The caller ID just showed unknown. That wasn't unusual. I answered, expecting a trucker or some drunk insomniac. Instead, a man's voice, deep and calm, said my full name. "Good evening, Daniel." That alone froze me. Hardly anyone knew my real name on air. I always went by DJ Dan. "I can see you," the man said. "Blue shirt, coffee mug in your right hand, window behind you, cracked open." I spun around. The back window was open just an inch. My blood went cold. I asked him how he knew that. His reply was soft, almost amused. "You left it open, remember? At 1:12 a.m., after the third song you played." I hadn't told anyone about that. No one could have seen me. Our studio was on the third floor. I tried to laugh it off, but the calls didn't stop. Over the next week, he rang almost every night. Each time, he told me something personal. What I'd eaten, what I'd written in my notebook, even what I was thinking. One night, I tested him. I scribbled down a random phrase on paper. "The night has teeth." A private, nonsense phrase. Minutes later, the phone rang. "Yes, Daniel," the voice said. "The night has teeth, and it's hungry." I hung up, heart pounding. I wanted to report it, but who could I tell? The police? My boss? No crime had been committed, just a voice on a phone line. But every night, the voice grew bolder. Eventually, I noticed something terrifying. Every call traced back to our own phone system. Not from outside lines, not from payphones, from inside the building. And each trace led to the same source, the second sound booth, the one that had been locked for decades. I confronted the station manager the next day. He looked pale when I mentioned it. He told me the booth had been sealed since 1979 after a former DJ, Alan Price, took his own life on air. Apparently, Alan had locked himself in that booth, ranting about voices whispering to him through the static, until finally, he put a gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger live. The room had been closed ever since. I tried to quit. I swear I did. But bills pile up, and I convinced myself it was all in my head, just an obsessed listener messing with me. Until one night, the calls escalated. At 3:17 a.m., the phone rang. My hands shook as I picked it up. The voice didn't greet me this time. It just whispered, "Look behind you." I froze. The air felt heavy, like the studio itself was holding its breath. Slowly, I turned. Through the glass window, into the corridor, I saw the locked door to the second booth. For the first time in years, it was open, just an inch, just enough. The phone clicked, and the man said, "It's your turn now." I don't remember making the decision, but I left everything running, music looping, mic live, and stepped into the hall. My feet carried me toward that door like I wasn't in control anymore. Inside, the booth was freezing cold. Dust everywhere, old equipment rotting. But the chair in the center was pulled out, waiting. On the console sat an old reel-to-reel recorder. It clicked on by itself. The tape hissed, and then I heard my own voice playing back. "Good evening, Daniel. I can see you." I staggered back, heart hammering. The phone in my studio rang again. Only this time, the sound was coming from inside the sealed booth. I swear I saw someone sitting in the chair now. A dark silhouette, head tilted, watching me. That was the last thing I remember before I blacked out. When I woke up, it was morning. Sunlight cutting through the cracks. The booth door was closed again, locked tight. But here's the thing. The station logs showed my voice on air until 6 a.m. sharp. I don't remember speaking. I don't remember playing the last tracks. But listeners called in later that day, claiming they'd heard me whispering strange things between songs, words that didn't make sense, things I don't even understand. I quit that job the same day, but sometimes, late at night, I still turn on the radio. And every so often, through the static, I hear that same voice whisper, "It's your turn now." They call it the last broadcast because I never went back. The station has new DJs, new staff, but that booth remains locked.